Okay, looks like we can go ahead and kick things off. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar, Solve the 5 Major Challenges Facing Your Security and Fire Business, presented by simPRO. While demand for electronic security and fire and life safety protection services is high, businesses in this industry often struggle to remain efficient and profitable. In this webinar, we'll discuss 5 of the major challenges in the security and fire business management and share some practical solutions. I will note that while today's webinar will not delve into issues related to COVID-19 in great detail and the impacts of containment orders throughout the nation, our members' virtual forum being held tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central will. You can visit esaweb.org to register for that session. I'm Jillian Bateman, ESA's Chief Development Officer, and I'll be facilitating today's webinar. I'm joined by Nick Carter, our expert from simPRO. I'm going to hand it off to Nick in just a moment, but before I do, I'd like to just review this webinar tool for those of you joining us for the first time. All callers will be muted for the duration of this webinar, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. At any time, please feel free to click the question icon in the bottom of your interface, and I will make sure that we pose those questions to Nick and save some time. Throughout this webinar, we're also going to have some interactive features, so there'll be some live polling. You'll see a couple of those poll questions pop up on your interface, and you'll just go ahead and answer the questions, and we'll display the results live. I know some of you may be watching us on Facebook Live. If you have any questions for our expert, please feel free to just comment in the post, and we will pose those to Nick as well. We'll be recording today's webinar, so you can rewatch this on-demand video at your leisure and share with any colleagues you'd like. Those will be sent to you via email and will also be in tomorrow's edition of ESA's newsletter Integrator. Finally, in your control panel, you're going to see 2 slides, one with slide content and the other with any speakers sharing video. So you can see me here. If you'd like to make any of those slides larger, you can double click on them if you'd like to see the slide content a bit bigger. We at ESA realize your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Nick Carter. As a simPRO Business Development Manager, Nick excels in helping field service businesses streamline their operations and find solutions to increase profitability. Nick has provided business consultations and support for a wide range of trade professionals, and he is passionate about aiding in their success. He resides in sunny California with his wife and 2 daughters. Nick?
Hello everyone, how are you doing? Now, we'll get started. I am not that Nick Carter, so there won't be any singing or dancing or me wearing any leather vests or singing Bye Bye Bye. I think that was one of their songs they sung. I am Nick Carter with simPRO. As was brought out, we're going to be touching 5 challenges facing your security and fire business. Now, we're not going to tell you these are the only challenges you have, and we're not going to tell you we can solve all your problems in just a few minutes. But we are going to talk about some of those challenges that we have learned from people in your industry through many years of working with those companies and move them over to software. Now, I know it was brought up about COVID-19, and this is on everyone's minds right now. And things may be even a little bit slow in your business while everyone is waiting and doing social distancing and figuring out what the next steps are. So this webinar is meant to kind of address some of those other challenges that you have, and maybe some that we can even address right now while you're going through a slower time. So your business not only weathers what we're dealing with in this current situation, but hopefully even thrives. So once again, like I said, we're going to touch on 5 of these. Of course, there may be more. And please feel free to ask any questions, and hopefully I can answer those questions for you. Now, once again, a little bit about myself. My name is Nick Carter. I've been working with simPRO for over 2 years. I am, when I'm not laying on the beach trying to get a tan, I am watching the America's team, the greatest football team of all, the Dallas Cowboys, going for their quest for another Super Bowl. So it might be delayed this year, but we will get one soon. Now, what is simPRO? That's a company I work for. simPRO is end-to-end business management system. It's just everything you kind of need to run your company. That's CRM functions, estimating, field service management, project management, scheduling, reporting, maintenance planning, all that kind of fun stuff that needs to be done. As you can see on the screen, we have over 150,000 users and represent over 5,500 companies, and we're growing. We do seek feedback in how we improve. That's why, we sit down with you and kind of figure out what your business does. We know every business is a little different depending on your style, where you're located, your customers, and we like to get feedback from them and let the industry kind of move us in doing what we do. Now, field service management, what is it now? Field service management should be able to assist you in aspects of your business that you're currently having people do, or things that are falling through cracks at this point. So for example, you should be able to find where your customers are, CRM functions, be able to do forecasting based on that. Estimating, either in the field or in the office. Field service management, being able to take some care of those things. Schedule your techs by location, by skills. Dispatch teams. Use notifications to know where your techs are at any given time, or to let your customers know when the techs are on their way. Track travel, job start times, GPS tracking, status updates, so you know what's happening at any given time on the job, whether they're finished or whether they're taking a break, all those things. And who in the office needs to be notified, and then be able to take payments in the field, recurring payments and all those things. So a lot of times we hear that word software and it makes us get a little scared. We see all the movies where there are robots and taking over the world because they've gotten this intelligence and they find that we're not necessary anymore. We're not saying that at all. Software is designed to assist you in what you're doing, not replace you. There's no one's going to go to replace the human touch or what you have in your brain, all those years of learning and being on site and being able to know the industry. No, that's you, and that will never be replaced. Software is there just to kind of help you out. Be like a little guy that runs around the office, tapping people on the shoulder, telling them when they got to do something, or when something needs to happen, or whether you should take a job from this customer or not. And then you get analytics and numbers. Now, once again, people don't like numbers. Very few do you ever hear someone say, my favorite subject was math. Now, maybe we do have some of those here in the webinar, but most aren't, right? So what's great about analytics and numbers is what you can do with those numbers. Data is king, and what you can do with data can really expand what you can do in business. So what are we going to talk about today? What's our agenda? Well, these 5 challenges we're going to touch on today for security and fire professionals. The first one is losing profits from untracked inventory. The second will be remaining compliant, which we know is so important in the field. The third is meeting customer expectations. And it's interesting because customers have a lot of expectations in the way they think things should be done. Everyone now is a Google expert. They go on Google and they know more than you do. So how do you manage customer expectations, give them what they need, yet still keep true to your business? Fourth, managing recurring revenue, which we know is also very, very important in the business. And fifth, inefficient operations. See, inefficiency hurts businesses in every field. How can we limit those inefficient operations and assist your workers, the people that are working for you, to be able to do their job in a better way? We're going to talk about the solutions to some of these challenges, and then we're going to have a question and answer, so you'll be free to ask any of those questions. So we'll get started. So the first one, we're going to put a poll out there, and the poll is going to be to ask you a question about inventory. So the poll is going to say, how well are you managing your inventory? Do you manage it well? Yes? No? Or maybe you don't even know how well you manage it. So let's put that poll on the screen now. And if you can click on there and let me know so we can get some numbers. While you're doing that, it's interesting because when we talk to customers, this is usually pretty unique conversations we have, but most people give us very, very similar answers. Inventory is something that is the elephant in the room that people are afraid even to touch. They don't feel like going back in the back of that warehouse where there might be spiders or a dead raccoon or whatever could possibly be in there, wanting to see what's there or wanting to find out what did we order 10 of that is now outdated. So sometimes instead of even looking at the problem, we just kind of close our eyes and hope for the best. We're going to discuss a little bit about how inventory being tracked can truly assist your company and ways it can make you money. We all want that, right? So, all right, so that poll's up there. We're going to see the results for there any minute now. I'll have Amanda send those to me. Great. All right. So did you have to write off inventory expenses? 56% of you said yes. All right. That's good. Hey, 22% said no. You guys are good, or you're lying to me. But maybe you haven't had to do that. And we'll talk about those inventory expenses. And then I don't know. Great. That's where most people sit. So we're looking at about 80% of people are either yes, you've had to write off these expenses, or no, you didn't know. So that's good to know. So what are we going to be discussing? Well, let's ask this question. Do you know exactly what parts and equipment you have at any given time? If I said to you, hey, do you have one of part X? Would you say, probably. We usually have that. And does Jim have it on his truck? I don't know, maybe. Jim doesn't ever tell me what's on his truck. We just hope for the best, right? So how could this assist you? Or how about this? Are you constantly writing off expenses that could have been billed to a customer? See, it's interesting because if we touch on that first question, we talk about it, as tech changes, you know that you don't want to buy something that's going to be outdated. And you know so quickly in your field how quickly things are no longer become obsolete, right? And because of new technologies, things becoming cheaper, you don't want to stack those in the back of there. You want to know what you have. Or how about you got your tech that goes out to the field and he goes to Mrs. Anderson's house, and she's a sweet old lady, and they go to do some service there. And she's the nice old lady that gives them cookies when they leave because she's so sweet, and they have to pet her dog and all kinds of fun stuff. But they go to their home and they have to fix a part. And it only costs $20 for that part. Oh, nice and easy. We fixed it. She's happy. The tech's happy. And you gave away $20. Now think of that. Maybe only be a $20 part, but what happens when you do that 5 times in a week? Now you're at $100 or $400 in a month or $5,200 in a year you've given away. Now, if you want to give away $5,200 in a better way, you can Venmo me, you can Cash App me. If you're still using PayPal, you can send that money to me also. And I will even show up at your office for a check if you want to give me that money, because I know what I could do with it. There's a lot of things I need to buy, want to buy, that would be great, right? These things can add up, can't they? In addition to adding up those parts, there's the true cost. If they have to come back to the warehouse to get that part, all right, because they don't have it on the trucks and they didn't know they had it, the time it took for them to travel, depending on where you're living. And all these things, once you start adding, make that $20 part even more valuable. It's nice to be the nice guy in the business and you want to help out people, but nice guys don't always finish first, right? Now, when was the last time someone gave you something for free? You go to the grocery store, you're trying to buy toilet paper, which you can't find now anyway, but say you could find toilet paper, you go there, you get to the counter, and they don't know the price on it, and they say to you, go ahead, just take it. We trust you. Or do they get a manager, keep the whole line backed up, get a manager to find a part, to go to the back, to send a stock boy to get another one, to come? Because each one of those things costs them money. Absolutely. And in any business, when you have inventory and you pay for it, you should get what it's valued at. So these things do add up. Or how about the last question? How do you compare vendor pricing when job costing? If you're ordering 50 parts or 100 parts for a job, do you have someone in your office say, I want you to go through all of our vendors on each part and find the cheapest place for it, the cheapest price, because I need to save that money? Well, that'd be nice in theory, right? But is that really going to be done? And if you ask someone in your office to do that, they may not say it to your face, but they can say something behind your back, right? So could you be assisted in doing that? Because on a large job, that could save you thousands of dollars. So how do we solve these problems? Well, solution, use software to track inventory. Once again, there's software, there's that word that people don't a lot of times like to work with, but how can it assist you here? Well, how would knowing what your materials you have in real time be? I want to know exactly what I have in the inventory. I want to know where it's at in the inventory. Or how about in each one of my guys' trucks, I want to know what they have in their trucks. And when they use it, they just have to tap a button and it puts it onto the job. And now when they get below a certain level, we can set minimum, maximum levels so they can always have the stock they need, most likely in their trucks. It stops them having to drive to supply houses, back to the warehouse, find another guy. It solves a lot of those problems if you know what you have in real time. Now you might be saying, hey, my old technicians aren't going to get in that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to put in all this extra work. Well, if you could make it simple for them, maybe they would. We'll talk about that later. How about connecting vendor catalogs to inventory so you can track the quick reordering? Or you may even be able to have them on your guys' trucks and they can put it to the job. However you choose to do that, whatever you like there. How about view vendor pricing side by side for quick comparisons, just like we spoke about? How about all your vendors show up and you can say, let's click one button and it will find cheapest vendor for all of those parts. So now we can order 30 from here, 20 from here, 15 from here. Wouldn't that save you some money? Wouldn't that make you money? And wouldn't that make someone who sits in that office doing that really happy? Yeah, you can make for happy employees. And then create more accurate estimates when you can see what inventory you have. Let's sell what we have before we have to order something, before we have to overnight something and pay those costs. If we can sell from stock first, it's always going to be beneficial for the business. Second, let's see here. The second challenge, remaining compliant. Now, this is huge. Now, as ESA members, you know that the membership gives you so many privileges in this aspect of being able to stay compliant and know the requirements. Are you using what ESA offers? Are you keeping up with the constantly evolving standards and code specifics in security? And it says life safety, we'll say fire safety at that point. Or are you up to date on the licensing requirements in your state? Do you know what each state requires? Or do you want your techs to have more than just the basic knowledge needed for a job? Now, why does that help if they have more than the needed knowledge? Well, because when they go into a site or on site, they're able to see the issues they're there to take care of, but now they're also able to be proactive and see other issues. And this now gives you, revenue. It helps you be proactive and not reactive. So if they have more than the basic knowledge, when something does happen that's a little out of their scope of work, they're able to deal with it instead of having to come back to the office and figure it out and go back out on site. Once again, every time they leave and go back and they waste an hour, those hours add up. Just like that $20 adds up, so do those hours, and they can affect your revenue for the company. So solution, what is this? Well, keep your staff up to date. See, be it trade shows, once again, when we can have trade shows, as we know, many of us may have been looking forward to going to a few of those in Vegas and different areas that have been canceled, but they'll be back soon. Going to trade shows, networking events in your local areas. That way you get to see what new products are on the market. I know you guys would all agree with me. Google has made people into, and I'm using the air quotes here, experts. Because now they know more than you do. Well, why can't you just do this? And why can't you put this here? Because they've been able to do that. Absolutely. So what happens there? Well, now you have to know what products they're talking about. Wouldn't that help? When something new comes on the market for you to know? Well, that's how you're going to find that information, finding those market products that are on the market. You want to be able to have staff attend training courses so they can stay in the know. So you want to be able to train and document them, what they're learning. Especially now, you may be paying your employees and even going through this tough time. They're still on. Wouldn't this be a great time to do training? While they're sitting at home, they can do that remotely. So being able to use those training courses, utilize the benefits of being an ESA member to help those to get up to snuff and get what they need to know. How about check that the equipment is compliant? See, manage your inventory. Know what you have. So you don't have inventory that now you wasted because you can't even use it because it's not up to code. And utilize the benefits, once again, of the ESA Alarm and Security Technician Certification. Use it. It's at your disposal. Why not? See, these things are ways you can assist in staying compliant. Third, meeting customer expectations. Customer is always right, right? The customer always thinks they're right. How about that, right? It's interesting because people love to be over-informed. If you order a pizza now, you can see when did they squeeze the dough? When did they put the toppings on it? When did it go in the oven? When did it get in their car? In the old days, we would just hope it came within 30 minutes or less, right? And you would get it and it would be so stuck to the top of the box or whatever happened there. But customers now want to know all this information. They even want to be texted so they can text everyone in the family who might be in a different room to come down and eat pizza. People have kind of got a little lazy there, right? But that's how people are taking in information, and they're expecting all of the ways in which they deal with any kind of surface to be similar. People would rather be called than have to make the call. Proactive better than reactive. The second one there is chasing down unpaid invoices, a regular part of admin tasks. This is probably the least fun part of an admin's job. Now, you can have that guy you employ with a baseball bat that you just send him over to people's homes to get the money. But they frown on that now in our new society in which we live. So what do you do and how do you do it? Or are you taking jobs on someone that has invoices that are 90 days late and you forgot to check because you don't really know where that information is, and they just keep adding on jobs, and by the time you get to charge them, they're like, I'm not paying for anything, right? So can you assist your employees in making sure these things don't happen and have automation there to be able to take care of these invoices? And what is the review and approval process for code acceptance or change orders? Yeah, so when you have code acceptance, what do they have to do? Do they get a fax machine and fax it back to you? Or is it something that they just tell me, hey, I'm good with it, and you keep it in your head? Or do you have Post-its that you stick up in different places? How do you take care of those things? Well, let's see some of the solutions. We can streamline customer relation management by first prioritizing and managing customer expectations. So maybe the customer's not always right, but if they're going to pay you, they need to feel that they are. So by automating communications, hey, your tech is on the way, a nice text message that someone in the office doesn't have to do, or by letting them know when their next service is coming up. Or this constant communication is huge. You guys will know that when you go on Yelp or you see any of those reviews, usually people get upset because they weren't contacted. They never called me back. They never contacted me. They never brought this part back. That's usually what happens. And 99% of the time, it's just miscommunication, right? Can that be taken away? You want your customers to be on Yelp and say, they got back to me immediately. They got to me before I even asked questions. They were proactive. Once again, we use that term, being proactive and not reactive. Communicate clearly from the beginning, from sending the quote to sending the invoice. Let them know what's going on. Perhaps you can put pictures before or after. So when they get that nice invoice, it says, yeah, this is what was here before. This is what they fixed. So there's no ambiguity there. They're not saying, did they really fix that part, or did they really do what they said they did? It makes it simpler if you can have that communication so they don't have to keep contacting you. Use automated notifications, SMS updates, and digital agreements that can be sent through a customer portal. Now, this is interesting here. People answer their text before they answer an email or a phone call. I could probably ask you, how many phone calls did you take yesterday on your cell phone? And how many text messages went through your cell phone? I bet that number would be completely different, right? So by utilizing these automation to allow these things to happen, customers are reached where they truly are. How many times have you sent an email to a customer and you get a message back, I didn't get that email. And because you've got a customer who might be in her 90s that has an email address that might still be a Hotmail address or AOL. No offense if any of you guys still have those. It's fine if that's what you like. And they say, I didn't even get that email. And it's right there in front of them, or it's in their spam. So text messages, most people are text messaging now. So going where customers are, putting information in front of them, being able to send agreements, having your customers be able to e-sign those agreements. It goes right back to your office and converts to a job. So the person has to schedule and says, hey, I got a job in front of me. Let's get someone scheduled. So we're not waiting days or hours or whatever in between those, and the customers are getting taken care of quickly. Or even using a customer portal. Those are wonderful for customers that need to see what kind of work needs to be done. They're able to create jobs on there. They're able to pay invoices. All of those fun things in a way in which they can take in that information and see it. And once again, we touched on it before, give a clear picture of the work provided to increase credibility. Credibility, when you go to get a car fixed, if you don't know much about cars and you drive in and you think it's going to be $200 and then it's $3,500 and you drive out and you hope it's fixed, there's always that, I wonder if this guy just ripped me off and put a $20 part on here and just kept my car for a week. That's always nerve-wracking, and that happens in any kind of service field. So giving clear pictures of the work, status updates, what's happening on the job. Here's the pictures of what's going on if it's a multi-stage job. All those things will completely assist you in making sure that customer feels happy and they feel that you're credible and they feel that you are doing the work that you promised. Challenge number 4, manage recurring revenue. Yes, recurring revenue is the lifeblood of your businesses, isn't it? Being able to have those jobs, those service contracts coming in all of the time. So how do you know when it's time to perform maintenance on your equipment? Is it, once again, Post-it notes? Is it order forms that are in a file that you have to thumb through to go through and hope there's no water damage at your office? Or now we can't even be in offices in most places. Now you have to figure out a way to get those files, and we all go one at a time to go and look at those files and get those out there. Right? How do you know when it's time to perform the maintenance, or what maintenance even needs to be performed on each of those pieces of equipment that's installed? How can you easily scale the number of assets you maintain? Is that overwhelming? If we're installing so many things on site, how do we manage all those things? Does it make it difficult for you? Can these things be done simply? Or even if they go in the field and they see something that's not on there, can they quickly add that to the list? And how about this one? Once again, we're talking about ways to keep your staff happy. Do you waste billable hours manually entering and re-entering recurring maintenance jobs? Are you reinventing the wheel every single time you do this? Yeah, does that bother your staff? Maybe they tell you, maybe they don't, but the answer is yes. Can we simplify? And are you giving away money by using these billable hours for this? Time is money, and we all have a finite amount of time. It'd be nice if it was endless and we had 1 million hours in the day to do things, but we don't. People need to do their jobs while they're there and be able to leave and to be happy. So are we able to do those things? Well, now, once again, let's use that. Let's use those alerts. Let's use a platform that can create these alerts. So it'd be easy if you could, hey, at the beginning of the day, let's go see what jobs we have coming up. What do we have coming up? What jobs do we need to take care of for the month, for this technician? See, once again, I told you those alerts and reminders are like that little guy in the office that runs around tapping people on the shoulder. Hey, you got some jobs due, tapping you on the shoulder. We got to get someone out there, get them ready to go. This tech, hey, we're going to put these jobs all on your schedule for this month. You got to get them done. Or how about quickly being able to create new jobs from a template without re-entering information? Build it once, use it multiple times. Or as I think Bill Gates said, if he had the choice of hiring a smart person or a lazy person, he'd hire a lazy person because a lazy person thinks of ways to replicate things in the easiest way. Right? So hey, a smart person might be really good at what they do, but take a lot of time in what they do. So we want to be somewhere in the middle, smart and lazy. Well, I don't know how that works, whatever. Somewhere in there that it could work out for us. So you want to be able to do that. In simPRO, in our software, and in what we can do with it, you can add your assets to a recurring job so you know exactly what needs to be maintained anytime. You get a software alert when the job is due. You can have alerts when the job is done. And you can let the customers know these things. And then you can even map jobs to a site and assign employees to those jobs. You won't even have to think about it later on. So you can take advantage of these alerts in assisting in that customer touching, customer facing side of the business so your customer remains happy. So you got a couple scenarios here, and depending on your business, you may be one or the other. Got the first scenario, which is, hey, we got to check all the assets at a location. They need to be checked at the same time on the same schedule. Well, that can make it easy. Maybe they only have a couple of things on there. So boom, this is how software can assist you in this way. But how about the time when you have in scenario 2, you have a large place that you're taking care of, and they have multiple assets, and they're all on different schedules. You all have different tests that need to be performed on those. Well, what do? Well, do you go and just do them all every time? No, that wastes time. That could be hours out of the day. Knowing what you need to take care of on in each location, at each asset, will save you time and frustrations from the people you're dealing with and for your techs. It keeps everything on schedule. We had one customer that would do that. He would say, well, we don't know which ones we're supposed to do, so we just check them all every time. And does it add to the job? He was like, yeah, most jobs take twice as long. Okay, so how do you solve that? It's too difficult. How are we going to figure that out? Software can do those kind of things for you. It keeps everything on the schedule and nothing falls through those cracks. All right, challenge number 5, dealing with inefficient operations. This can be a tough one because most people who run a business feel they're doing things in the best possible way. So when you tell them, you might be a little inefficient in there, it's like telling your wife she does look fat in that outfit. It never goes across well because people don't want to hear those type of things. But inefficient operations can lead to inefficient people. I mean, people are inefficient. They tend to do the same things over and over again by replicating it. And now you've taught them bad habits. Can you take a bird's eye view of your business at any given time, know what's happening at different portions? It brings out here, can you determine how your service jobs and installation projects are tracking at any given minute? Where are we at in this job? I don't know. I mean, I know we're still working on it. Okay. How does that help you? So you need to be able to track those type of things. Do certain teams constantly end up with the wrong information or missing details? We see this one all the time. I had a customer and complete teams at the company hated each other. It was like these interior factions because the guys in the field were like, well, those people in the office would give me my right information, I could do my job better. And the people in the office were like, if those people in the field would give me the right information, I could do my job better. They were saying the same things because there was so many missing field, missing information. You know this. You have texts that some texts you say, hey, how'd the job go? And they give you a one-word answer. Good. Okay, can you give me any more than that? Really good. All right, well, that doesn't help. And then you got some texts that will tell you about the color of the carpet, the type of dog they had, what they had for lunch. They give you all this information. Most of us want somewhere right in the middle, right? We want to be able to say, let's give me the same information each time so we can have consistent service and have that go through the entire company for simplicity. Well, how about the last one? Are you losing profits because estimating or change orders are inaccurate? Now, an artist is only as good as their tools. For example, you can say to Bruce Springsteen, I want you to go and play Born on the 4th of July, and you can give him My First Guitar from Fisher-Price. He can make it happen. It's just not going to sound as good, right? So if you're not giving your estimators what they need in order to be more accurate, and we know estimating is not a science, it is a skill, and you may have wonderful estimators. You may even be the estimator for your company. But if you had up-to-date pricing at all times, if you could put together parts that are needed and put them together in combinations, hey, we need this part, we always have these other 5 parts with it, to simplify so things aren't forgotten. Oh, that's right, we always do need that amount of wire for this job. I forgot to put it in there. And the customer says, you gave me my estimate, I'm not paying anymore. So now you start eating into your profits, right? If you could start to automate some of the things to make an estimator's job easier, wouldn't it be better for the company? Yes, you know, what you want to do when you're dealing with operations is you want to keep everyone doing their job. You know, I talked about the Dallas Cowboys, the greatest football team of all time. There's another team that most people hate too, the New England Patriots. And maybe they won't be as good anymore just because of all the things that are happening. Mr. Brady has decided to leave and go down to Florida. But one thing Bill Belichick always taught was know your job, right? And he would say, if you know what you are supposed to do at any given time, everything works out. Don't worry about other people, just do what you do well. Well, in your company, does everyone know their jobs? If your operations are not efficient, they don't. And there's usually 1 or 2 people in the company that are bearing the weight of everything. They have too much stuff on their plate, and there are other ones that aren't doing as much. And you know what happens when they see that? They look at each other, and she looks over at her, or he looks at him and says, I'm here the same amount of time as they are. I do 3 times as much work, and we have the same paycheck at the end of the month. And that's never good. That's going to create unhappy people in the company. And of course, you don't want that. It will affect your bottom dollar. So how can we use automation and assist in these ways? Well, field mobility can improve communication between the job site and the office. Why is this helpful? Well, gone are the days when we're going to write this down on a piece of paper and we're going to get that to the customer and they're going to sign it and we're going to take it and it slides under the seat of their truck and you don't see it for 3 or 4 weeks. No, let's do it immediately. Let's go right there. So you finish a job, you click a button. If we need parts, whoever has to order those parts in the office says, I need to order parts because I will send this. And you can have that little guy in the office that taps them on the shoulder if it's not done in 24 hours. Click, click, hey, you got to order those parts. And another few hours. Where are those parts? Setting software up to do those things so you don't have to do those things can help. You know, you let software focus on making your business the best it can be. We're not saying you need to be a software guy. No. And that's why you'll need assistance in getting this up and running. But let software do its job. It's not designed to replace you or anyone, just aid them. So in the field, when these guys have it, they know what job needs to be done. They know what's on the job. They know prior jobs that have been done there. They know what tests need to be performed. They know the pictures to be taken. They even know, hey, I need to have safety checks before you start this job. Do you have a hard hat on? Are you using fall protection? Whatever it could be. Absolutely. We need to make sure that the field mobility project management software can provide a clear picture of your status in real time. What's happening at each job at any point? Let's find out if I'm losing money, not at the end of the job and say, well, we shouldn't have spent 3 weeks doing that job, but in the middle of the job, in the first 2 days of the job, so you can start making changes so you can be agile. That's going to help your business run smoother. Or integrate with supplier databases to create more accurate estimates and faster approvals. Let's know what we're going to charge right now by having up-to-date costs. And when they change their costs, you hit a button and it puts it right back into the system and updates all those costs. Simple, and give your estimators the tools they can to do their job. How about gain business insight by setting up automated reports to compare profit and loss, project progression, job activity, or staff performance? This is all huge. Once again, data is king. If you get data, you can use it in so many different ways. So now you can say, well, are my technicians doing what they need to do? Do I need to set KPIs on how many jobs they're doing so I can reward the ones that are doing good and train the ones that aren't? Right? Can I see my profit and loss? Know what aspects of the business are making me money and what's costing me money? Once again, little Mrs. Anderson that we take care of, that's great. But if it costs you money every time you go there, you might have to say, we got too many Mrs. Andersons and we need to start making some changes, right? So, and project progression, what's happening at any given time, change orders, progress payments, retainages, all of those things, it'd be nice if software could remind you, hey, you better get that progress payment, you better put that on there, you better get that retainage, all those things, having someone running behind you, tapping you on the shoulder, once again, that little guy that does that, having them help you. So once again, these are 5 of the tools. Now I think we're going to have another poll come up. So the poll is going to talk about those 5 things, and it'd be interesting just to hear from you here in attendance, which one of those do you think is the biggest headache that you deal with? So we're going to put this poll, what challenge has affected you the most? The first, inventory management. Second, remaining compliant. The third, meeting customer expectations. Managing recurring revenue, and finally, dealing with inefficient operations. Let me know which one of those. It'd just be kind of interesting to see with business owners and ones running the businesses, what they're feeling. And I know you guys are all spread out all over the country here, so I know it can be different in different areas. So yeah, click on there and tell me what you see. All right. Oh, inefficient operations. Oh, I love that. That's big. Yeah, that's kind of what we thought. Those inefficient operations and inventory management, they truly are huge. Remaining compliant, sure, especially being a member of ESA, you have everything you need to do to remain compliant. So that could definitely assist you there. And the recurring revenue. And meeting customer expectations. I'm glad to hear all of you feel that you're doing well there. So dealing with those inefficient operations is so big. And that's why when you get software, you're not just looking for software that does little parts. Hey, I can get a software that just does scheduling. I can get a software that just does estimating. But having workflow software that makes all those operations work together and can be seen in the same place. If you can use the least amount of software to do the job better, right? You wouldn't have a phone that just does text messages and another phone in your pocket that you just make phone calls with and another phone in your pocket that you just check Facebook or Instagram with, right? You want to have it on one device, and software the same way. Be strategic. So we've talked about to deal with common challenges, you can be strategic in tracking your inventory. Once again, that was a lot of you thought that was an issue also. How can you track your inventory and know exactly what you have? I'll tell you right now, we have customers that were losing about 10% each year. Now 10% may not seem like a big number, but they had about $250,000 in inventory. So you lose 10%, that's $25,000. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I take checks, cash on delivery, and you can send it to any one of those amounts if you want to give away that kind of money. But that customer, once they were using the software portion to take care of their inventory, they went down to less than 1%. And they knew where those parts went. And we're not saying your guys are taking stuff and throwing it in the back of their truck, but sometimes guys might say, I'm going to go and do this job on the side this week. And it's only a $50 part, only a $100 part. I'll put it on it. And I promise I'll get that back at some point. Yeah. Promises make for losses, right? So be strategic in tracking your inventory. Take the time for training and certification courses. This is necessary. It's better to take the time to do this so your guys know what they're doing on site. Utilize what's given you. Once again, I've said this so many times, as an ESA member, you have so much at your fingertips. Use those things in order to make your technicians and the people in the office up to snuff on what they need to be. Streamline the way you communicate with and manage customers. How are you managing customers? Are you managing them in the way they want to be managed? Use software to manage your recurring revenue. And finally, organize your workflow so you can uncover and then remove inefficiencies and sometimes inefficient people in your operations. So by doing those things, you're able to have a smooth running company that you're able to see. Is everything going to be running perfect from that? No. Is it going to be running more perfect? Absolutely. And that will affect. So now I know, hopefully I haven't bored you too long. We've been talking for about 35, 40 minutes now. So now if there are any questions that would like to be answered, I think they'll get sent right over to me. So what you got?
Okay, everyone, you want to click that Q icon at the bottom of your interface to pose your questions to Nick. And again, on Facebook, if you're watching us live, you can go ahead and ask those questions in the comment section. I will pose the first question for Nick. We struggle with connecting the inventory to jobs. How does your software do that piece with inventory management and job management together?
Great, that's a really good question. Now, once again, like I said, our software starts from beginning to end and takes care of all those things in between. So as far as managing inventory management and job management, first you have to know what you have in inventory, then you have to know what jobs you have, and then you have to know what's required for those jobs. Now, there's a few ways that can be done. That can be, hey, if it's a large project, I'm going to order parts in just for that project. I'm going to either send them to the site or keep them in the warehouse and take them to that site. It can be managed that way. It could also be managed when your guys go to the field, they know they need to do a replacement part for a service job. They get to look on that and they get to see exactly what they have in their truck. They pick it up, they just tap that with one finger on the phone, it adds it to the job, and now you're able to connect that jobs and that inventory. You're also able to, for large projects, maybe order parts as you need them. You're able to order them for the entire job or for just phases. So there's multiple different ways. It's one of those things that when we come and sit down with you and kind of see how your business works, we find that a huge part of our business is that human element that right now we're not allowed to have, but as soon as we are, we will. Sitting down with you and seeing how you specifically run your company and how simPRO can help that.
Thanks, Nick. I've got another question here. Struggling to communicate with my techs since I can't have them come into the office right now. Is this something your software can help with, or do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, this is interesting because now we're dealing with social distancing. You can't all be in the same place at the same time, right? Well, what's great is if you use a software tool, what you can do, you can see what needs to be stocked in each van. And when you're using software, for example, ours is the software we use is in the cloud. So you don't have to be in your office computer to use it. You can use it sitting on your back porch. I would say sitting on the beach. We're not even allowed to go there right now. Sitting in your back porch or sitting at your desk, you would be able to see what needs to be restocked in each van. And then you could stagger your restock times with your techs. So only one comes to the warehouse at a time. So that's probably how I would solve it in that instance.
Got another one here. Does the software accommodate AR and AP and payroll?
Yes, yes, and yes, and in different ways. So it kind of depends on how you're working with your payroll. Now, we're not a payroll software, but we're able to track all your hours, your overtime, make it into a report, and can be put into any payroll system that you're looking at. And also, absolutely, it's going to track all those others. You got it. Good question.
You've got another one. Obviously, things are changing a lot with COVID. You mentioned inventory earlier. Struggling to manage stock levels, especially with social distancing. Any recommendations?
Yeah, and like I said, I think that the way I would deal with those things like we talked about is setting those stock levels in the vehicles, setting the stock levels in the warehouse, and just having those staggered when they're going in. Put them on a schedule for dealing with that. This is the time that maybe those guys are able to go to their warehouse, go to their vehicles and start checking through their stock and seeing what they have. seeing what's falling under seats, seeing what parts they forgot they had and they ordered in and wasted those times. So absolutely, with these changes with COVID, it's definitely changed so many things in the way we do business. However, with software, it enables you to not be touching anyone anyway. That was what we've been doing for many years with simPRO. We want to keep this paperless. There's no reason why a technician should have to come and hand you a piece of paper when they finish a job. No reason at all. There's not even really a reason now for technicians to have to come to the office to find out what jobs they have if they're sent to them and given those on their apps. They know what jobs are required, where they need to go for that day. Once again, we are designed for situations like this. simPRO has been designed not just for situations like this that no one could have imagined, but in times of natural crisis, floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, wherever you're at. That's when people are needed, right? And so simPRO is designed to not have you have to go into an office to be able to figure out where you're going next or to, start replicating bad, inefficient processes. Let's simplify things. Let's communicate with our guys where they're at so they can do the best amount of work.
Good point, Nick. We've got a few more here. So theoretically, your normal office staff could log into simPRO from home since it's cloud-based, and your field techs could still work in the field using their mobile app. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, and that's the way it should be. And what's great about simPRO is this. So even when your guys are working from home, you can set permissions on the system so they only see what they need to see. So if they're not doing invoicing, you might say, I don't want them to touch invoicing, and that won't show up for them. They will just see what they need to see. They're able to schedule jobs. They're able to get the reports from those jobs to the app, and they're able to do invoicing. Anything they could do sitting in an office, yeah, your team could do remotely right now.
Great. I can get the same part from a couple different vendors, but they charge me different prices. Can I set a preferred vendor based on the cost price to me?
Absolutely. And you can also decide to, say if you have 4 vendors you're using, you can say, let's send out vendor quotes. And you can send it out to them with a touch of a button. It's going to say, we need these parts, because maybe they'll give you a discount when you're ordering more parts. But you could also, on any job, pick, I want vendor A on this job, vendor A, vendor A. You could choose it that way. Or like I said with the software, you're able to tap a button and it's going to figure out which vendor is going to charge you the least amount for each one of those parts. And you could say, let's order it from both of those 2 vendors. Or you could say, well, let's still go with vendor A because once I get to a certain spend, I get more discounts. So absolutely.
Does the software integrate with MicroKey software as well?
So our software has an open API. So an open API means that if your software, any software you're dealing with also does, you can have it written so they can communicate together. We also have a Zapier integration that enables a lot of software that is Zapier based to be connected to simPRO very, very simply. So it's kind of we'd have to kind of look at the software and what you're trying to integrate with both ways, but we could definitely have that discussion. But the answer usually is yes.
We can absolutely connect you with Nick after the webinar as well. But Nick, off the top of your head, do you know of any clients that are using QuickBooks and integrating simPRO with that?
Oh, you better believe it. We're about, I think 90% QuickBooks in here in the United States. So absolutely we can. And I can definitely send you the information about what moves forward. We work with QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online also. Online does maybe a few more features than Desktop does. But absolutely, and we'll definitely work with you in getting over the information you need. And once you set it up, it will work seamlessly.
So this is kind of a under the hood question, but how does the software actually connect with the supply chain?
So your supply chain, any company, any supplier is going to have a web presence, right? And all of their parts are going to be able to be downloaded from a catalog. And it's interesting because all suppliers we work with want to be part of simPRO because they want us to put their catalogs in all our customers, right? So what would happen is you would take that, you would download to a CSV file very simply, you would import it into the system, and boom, it's going to upload it into simPRO. And now when they make changes, and which they can make changes every quarter, every half year, every year, you would just get the latest one, you would download it, you would import it, it would make all those changes on there.
Our last question here. I'll give you just one moment to ask any lingering questions that you may have. But Nick, what's a typical onboarding timeline look like for new clients?
Yeah, so well, right now it's been sped along because we have some more access to text. One thing that we do for our onboarding is we come on site. We believe it's very, very important to be able to sit down with you and go over your business, understand what your specific business is. We don't think that every one size fits all. Our software is designed to be configurable to work with many different customers. So we would come down with you. The way it starts out, we'd have a call with you remotely just to kind of get some information, give you some homework. Now, there's definitely homework on your side. There's definitely things you need to do. If you're using QuickBooks and you want to take your customers out, you got to clean that data, make sure that data is clean. Find out who your suppliers are. We're going to give you some calculators that are going to figure out your overhead costs. So all these things are done, and as sooner you get that done, the better. And a lot of customers, like I said, right now, going through this terrible, tough time, have some more time, and they're getting those things done. Then we come out on site. Now, that can be as quickly as 1 or 2 weeks. It can be maybe longer than that. And we're going to sit down with you, and we're going to get a portion of your business up and running right now. We're going to say, hey, maybe let's get the service department up and running. Or if you're project-based, let's get these forms up and running. And every customer's going to be a little bit different. So that's what our goal is. And maybe we can get everything running. And then we'll come back maybe in 3 or 4 weeks to do fine-tuning. Let's go to the next level of those things that maybe you hadn't thought of when we first started with the business, or the more intricate parts of the data. So I would say 60 days to get up and running. However, it all depends on you, the amount of effort that you put in, how much you're willing to get done. We're in an unprecedented time right now, and maybe you have more time in your hands than you ever thought you would. This may be a wonderful time to be able to get that done so you can shorten it. So by the time we come out of this, man, you could be running a software, because you know this. Everyone is being put on hold, and everyone is slowing down right now. However, once we get out of this, all the same things that people were doing are going to start to function, and they're going to be backed up now. People are going to need to have their security systems checked and taken care of. You know this, that during times like this, people can be very, very nervous about what nefarious characters might do. They want their systems set up. They're going to want their fire systems to be checked. You're going to be able to run your business so smoothly if you can take the right amount of time. So when we come out of the other side of this crisis that the country and the world is dealing with, you can be running efficient software.
I think that's the last of our questions. If there's nothing further, Nick, simPRO, I want to thank you very much for the presentation today. And I want to thank everybody who's joined us and spent a little time with ESA this afternoon. Again, the webinar is being recorded, so you'll all receive a video recording of today's session that you can share with your colleagues. And be sure to check out tomorrow's ESA Integrator newsletter, which will include excerpts from today's session, along with our new COVID-19 Resource Center and lots of links that could be helpful for you and your business there. Nick, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure. We love working with associations like yours. So thank you.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.